Hello students, welcome back to the part 4 of the slide, that is part B. So last PowerPoint presentation we stopped at this particular slide. Now we will be moving on to your further topics, okay? So moving on to your next topic, you have duties of an auditor. By now we all know who an auditor is, what is his role, what is his responsibility, why is an auditor hired in a company, everything as such, right? Now let's look into what are the duties of the auditor. So following are the duties of the auditor. First one is to certify the statutory report. That is basically it is his compulsory duty, okay? That is the first and the most foremost duty of the auditor, that he should certify whatever statutory report is there. That is the legal report, okay? This report is regarding the shares of the company, the cash which is received by the company, the receipts, the payments, etc. All of the details of the company will be included in this particular report. Second duty is to certify performance of the company. Now the second duty is he needs to make sure that the company is how is the company's profit and loss, what is the balance sheet, is the dividend being paid, how are the shareholders treated, okay? How are preference shareholders given importance, etc. This will come in the second point, that is certifying the performance of the company. Now third point is submission of the report. After he certifies the statutory report and the performance of the company, he also has to submit the report, okay? The auditor of the company has to examine the accounts of the company. That is basically he needs to carry out auditing, that is examination of the company account books, okay? He needs to carry out auditing on the same, and he has to report the same to the shareholders on basis of how the account is, how the profit and loss statement is, how the balance sheet, etc. is. He needs to make sure that he is providing the report. Next, fourth point is assistance to advocate general. Now assistance to advocate general is basically in connection with the prosecution of the directors, that is in legal prosecution of the directors. Auditor of the company is bound to provide assistance and in investigation to advocate general if the services are required. In case if the company requires any legal advice, or if the company requires any lawyer or anything as such, then he can also assist in advocate general. Next is fifth point is duty in case of voluntary winding. Now voluntary winding is basically in case if the company is going in loss, or in case if the company has any sorts of debt or anything, if the company will not be able to carry the functioning further. In case of voluntary auditing, what the auditor will do is basically he will certify the profit and loss account, he will certify the balance sheet, he will certify the assets and liabilities to show the position of the companies, whether the company is in the position to pay its liabilities to the creditors or not, okay? Next one is signature duty. Signature duty is basically the authorized seal and signature that the auditor has to put on the report that he is preparing and he is submitting to the board and the shareholders, okay? Next is helps inspectors. Helps inspector is basically, it is from the government. What is happening is government is appointing inspector to collect whatever information is regarding the matters, what are the legal duties of the auditor, that he should help the inspector in and provide true information, okay? That is duties of the company, and what is the information regarding the company, he has to provide it to the inspector who will be appointed by the government. Next is performance of the job. Performance of job is the auditor is bound to perform all jobs according to the terms and conditions of employment, whatever the terms and conditions are based on employment. Before entering into the contract with the company, all the activities he needs to, whatever duty is being mentioned to him, he needs to perform all the duties. Next, ninth duty is to verify securities. Verify securities is basically to check whether it is in the safe custody or not, okay? Whether it is in the safe custody of the company or not. Next is to verify the asset as given in the balance sheet, okay? In case whether all the assets have been taken in proper consideration, if the value of the asset has been recorded properly, etc. Then verify the payment, that is making sure that the company has made payments of whatever business payments have to be made, that the company has made its payments. Next is honesty. Honesty is basically the foremost and the most important criteria of the auditor, duties of the auditor, and he should be very honest and efficient, and he must also be very confident about the facts as well as whatever report he is preparing, okay? He has to prepare the report with utmost honesty. He should not do any cheating and fraud in preparing the report. So these were the duties of the auditor. Now your next topic is removal of auditor. Let's look why is the organization or the company removing an auditor, on what basis will the auditor be removed. So with the removal of the auditor, section 140 of the Companies Act 2013 deals with the removal of the auditor. Okay, the procedure is as follows, that is removing the auditor before the term of expiry. Now why is this happening? How will they remove the auditor before his term of expiry? By passing a special resolution, okay, that the company has obtained approval from the central government. By passing one resolution, you will be removing that particular auditor, sorry, okay. Then before taking any action, the auditor concerned shall give a reasonable opportunity of being heard. Now suppose in case if the company has caught hold of the auditor committing fraud or error, or if he's purposely making misstatements and all of that, if the company gets to know about that, by passing a resolution they can remove. But before removing, the auditor has the right to be heard, okay, that whether if he's done that actual thing, or if he's not done, or if he's simply being blamed for it. Next, you have various applications through which you have according to various forms, there are various various procedures of removing the auditor. So let's look in as per rule 7. Okay, now what it is saying is basically when an auditor is being removed, or he will be accompanied with a fee which is prescribed under section 12 of the company rule. Okay, basically if he's committed any fraud or anything as such, then he will have to pay a certain amount of fine or something like that. Okay, then the application to the government shall be filed within 30 days. In case if the company gets to know, then the government with the application they have to file an application with the government telling that I want a resolution that needs to be passed to remove this particular auditor. That the company needs to hold a general meeting within 60 days of the approval of the central government. Then removal of auditor by special resolution will be considered as special business for section 102. Okay, then these are the various things that you need to that the company needs to keep in mind before removing a particular auditor. Then lastly, according to section rule 7 is a long-term relationship is built for 5 years. Okay, since removal before 5 years could be considered as removal before the expiry of his term, and for removal before the expiry of the auditor's term requires strict formalities to be followed. Okay, suppose if the auditor's term is 5 years, suppose now before term if you're removing him, then you have to know, right, what is the responsibility of the auditor, why is he being removed, what will be his penalty, and what are the strict rules that need to be followed as per the company, how the documents need to be verified and all of that. Okay, so these are the various information that you need to keep in mind at the time of removal of the auditor. Next, according to form 2, it says details of the application clearly under indicating as to why you're removing the auditor. So basically when a company is filing an application with the government, the company has to make sure that they are mentioning on what basis are they removing the auditor. Why are they filing an application of removing the auditor? Next, whether the accounts have been qualified during the last 3 years. If yes, give the details. Okay, suppose if you're removing the auditor after 3 years, then if all the accounts have been qualified, then you have to give all the reports of the accounts. Then next, you have to give details about the opportunity which was concerned regarding the auditor. Then whether he has done any civil or criminal activity which is pending between the company and the auditor, and date of appointment when he was appointed, and when the auditor has committed a fraud or anything as such. All of that particular details have to be mentioned while you are removing the auditor. Okay, Next, it says whether you have received a special notice or not by the removal of the auditor. Then you have to, you have to mention the audit fees that has been appointed, how much is the percentage that was being paid, then whether the audit fee is paid in full or the audit fee has to be paid yet. Then next one is details of the services which are rendered by the auditor to the company. Then pendency of the audit, in case if the auditing is, suppose if the auditor's term is 5 years and he's done auditing only for 3 years. Okay, then in case if the next year or after the next month he gets caught by conducting any fraud activity, then all of that has to be mentioned, whether for how many years he's done and how many years are pending. Then stage of accounts of the company has to be mentioned, and whether is there any dispute with regard to books of accounts in possession with the auditor but not delivered back to the company. Suppose for example, if the auditor has any information, any books of accounts of the company, any legal documents of the company are held by the auditor, in case of all of that, everything has to be mentioned properly to the by the company to the central government to issue a resolution to remove the auditor. Okay, I hope this particular topic is clear to you all. Next is resignation of auditors. Now, last topic was removal of auditor. Now it is resignation of auditors. We've already discussed resignation and we will be discussing it again in this particular thing. That is, I will not be going in depth because we've already discussed the resignation for you all. Okay. So all you have to know is resignation as per the Companies Act, and within how many days the auditor has to give resignation. That is 30 days. Then the date of appointment. Then on what basis can he resign? Okay, if he is resigning prior date, what are the things that the company has to take, etc. All of this has to be noted down. Then this is basically a pictorial representation of what happens if the auditor is not appointed, or in case if the auditor immediately retires or anything is said. This is a pictorial representation which you can refer for your notice. That is auditor resignation. What is happening is resignation letter to the company. He is giving a, in case if the auditor is appointed by the central government, in case if the auditor is appointed by the CNG, how it is actually working. In case if he's appointed by this, in case if he's appointed by this, these are the following steps that the auditor needs to follow in terms of resigning. Next, again, it is the continuation of the same. How the company is going to call that is sequence of resignation of the auditor. That is how it goes on in the stepwise manner. That is, first the auditor will be sent to the company with us wherein the auditor will take his or her resignation letter along with them. Then the company will call a board meeting to accept the resignation of the auditor. Then the company will fill the vacancy which is arised by the vacancy of by the resignation of the auditor. Then next is holding a general meeting and approve the appointment of the auditor. Then when the appointment is done, you have to file the same appointment of the new auditor to the ROC within 30 days, and then appointment within 15 days of that period of appointment. So these are all repeated, but just have a look at these particular points and note it down. We've already discussed the resignation of the auditor in the previous PowerPoint presentation slides. Next is limitations of external audit. By now we all know what is external audit. Now let's look into what is the limitation of external audit. Okay, so external audit is basically you're using estimation and judgment. Basically, you're not taking complete financial statements and you're not taking exact information. Okay, for example, like depreciation, provision of doubtful debts, etc. Right? And so you do not know whether that particular debt will be cleared, whether that particular debt is a bad debt or anything as such. So you're completely assuming. So you're making estimation and judgment. The historical nature and historic nature of reporting, that is, you're taking past data into consideration, and these limitations are nothing but drawbacks. Okay, so use of estimation is a drawback, historic nature is a drawback, use of sampling. Sampling is basically when you're just taking a part of the data. You're not taking the entire data, you're just taking a part of the data which you do not even know if that particular data is right or if it is wrong. That is a part of the population size. Next one is humans. Humans are tend to make errors, and in case if the humans are lacking any expertise, knowledge or anything as such, then even they will tend to fail to identify any misstatements or any fraud or error. Then nature of evidence. Nature of evidence is basically at times whether the nature is conclusive evidence or whether the particular evidence is supporting the reports or not. All of this can also be a misstatement. The nature of the audit. What is the nature of the audit? How the company is, whether it is an internal audit, whether it is an external audit, then how the reports have been prepared and how the estimation is to be done. Then risk of fraud. Risk of fraud is nothing but as we all discussed, like how at times due to misstatements it goes undetected, right? In case if the auditor is also not able to detect it, then it becomes one of the limitations and drawback. Then scope and time constraint is also one of the drawback of external audit or the limitation of external audit. Scope is basically it is just limited to a particular activity. Okay, you cannot you cannot go in depth and find out the information. Then time constraint, auditing is done only for a particular period of time. So for suppose you have a data of 10-15 years and you're conducting auditing only for 5 years or something like that, then that becomes a time constraint. So this is it with the part 4B PowerPoint presentation slide video. So I will be moving on to the next video with part 5 and part 6. So thank you for watching. Please stay updated for the next 2 videos.